Hey, everybody. Guy here from a Chit Chat podcast. Welcome back. We're so thankful to have you. Thanks for listening. Again, whether you're folding laundry or driving to work, doing, standing by the grill, whatever you're doing, we just appreciate that you're here. We appreciate that you're listening. I just got done recording this podcast with my friend Dave. He is helping run Jacobs Financial, which he runs with one of his brothers, and they bought it from their dad. And it's 51 years old. Running a business can be hard, and surviving a year is tricky in business. And so surviving for 5 decades is a really, really cool thing. And it was just a fun conversation about their business, about how they kind of support the community and what they're passionate about. Dave's been in town for a long time. And so it's just fun to get his perspective on all of that and growing something that's kind of worth passing down to your kids. So if you're interested in any of that, I'm just really excited for you to hear this podcast. Dave, welcome to the Chit Chat podcast.
Thank you for having me, Guy.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. We're drinking some coffee today. You're a black coffee guy, right?
I am just straight up black. Light roast is preferred for me.
And we have a light roast here.
From what I understand, it's more caffeine.
It might be true. I mean, it's true, I think, technically speaking.
Okay.
But it is so inconsequential that it's almost not worth mentioning. So like the amount of caffeine between a light roast and a dark roast is almost indistinguishable.
Okay.
But I think technically speaking, there's a smidge more.
I just prefer the taste
of light roast. Same.
Yeah.
Same. Well, again, thanks for coming.
Cheers.
I think this is from Costa Rica today. A little bit, a little citrusy, a little bit floral.
That's very tasty.
Okay, so Dave, maybe would you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Where do you work and what do you do? And there's a big giant. There's a guy on it. It was a big German Shepherd, and it looked like he was by himself, and it's not.
Well, yeah, no, that's distracting. Well, that dog's
giant
still
window.
there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it is a big dog.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Jacobs, and I'm from St. Cloud originally, born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
My family, we own a financial planning firm, Jacobs Financial, and I've been doing that for the last 22 years.
Cool.
Alongside my brother and my dad.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
We actually had a guy by the name of Tyler Walls. Let's see, he's up here. Here he is.
Yeah.
He's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
So another
I get to work with Tyler every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got a great team over there. It's fun.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And you guys have you're in your 50th year right now, right?
51. We just had 51 in April.
All right.
Of this year.
It's absolutely incredible. What is it like? What's it like to come and, I mean, you've been there for a long time now, but to work inside of a family business that has been around as long as that?
Truly it's a blessing, and to see the company evolve over the last 20 that I've been involved with it, 20 plus years has been a lot of fun. And now we're like working on what's the next chapter look like? Yeah. As Andy and I, my brother and I, have kind of run the company for the last 5+ years. We're looking at what does that expansion look like in other offices, other communities, and just keeping up with the growth demands.
Yeah.
As challenging as running a business is, we're still, individually working with our individual clients and corporate clients, but then also managing employees and office spaces and all of those different things that what business owners do. They wear multiple hats, and so the challenges of that is fun, but it can be exhausting at times too.
Have you heard the expression, you want to work on your business, not in your business?
My brother and Andy and I just had that same conversation today. So we're talking about strategic planning sometime later this summer. I love the idea of that. Yeah.
Except the reason I got into all of this is because I love to take pictures, right? So the work on the business thing would be like, hey, maybe don't take on so many clients, or don't serve your past clients in the way that you have, or show up on fewer photo and video shoots or whatever for me, right?
Yep.
Except the thing is, like, I love that. Like, I got here because I love that thing. And so I think when you hear people say work on the business, in the business, like, that sounds nice. That sounds nice and all, except if you love it. Like, how do you do that throttle, how do you throttle that gas and clutch thing of like,
I think for us, it's bringing on team members.
yeah,
Like, the only way that we can continue to do what we'd want to do is serve people and help people. You get to a capacity level, so then you have to bring on employees and other advisors to help grow and help continue to serve people. Like Tyler, for an example, I think he's coming up on 10 years with us. And like individuals like that come in and they can help meet with people, and then it allows us as the owners to still meet with the core clients that we've had for many years. But then as we get referrals in, we can help those individuals, but it can be the team members and other advisors helping them grow. It's been such a fun time, and now it's fun because so I come from a family of 5 kids. I'm the middle one. Andy's the oldest. We have a brother, Matt. He's in St. Cloud. And then we have a younger brother, Adam, and he transitioned into the financial services around the COVID time period and did a career change. And him and his wife live out in San Diego. So he's doing financial planning. So we get to work with him.
That's cool.
And do some joint work together. And then
and heading out to San Diego in the winter isn't the worst
no,
thing
not
in the
at
world.
all. Which is a lot of fun, and the family, like Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners are always fun because you get a few of us just talking shop.
Do you guys, are there rules or anything about like how much you can talk shop?
We try to, like, the wives will probably be like, "Come on, guys, why are you guys talking about work right now?" But it's just natural. I think you just do it.
Again, also if you love it.
And,
I think if you're trying to escape it,
Yeah.
man, holidays are a wonderful time to escape your job.
Yeah.
But if you love it, it's a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, and it just comes up naturally in conversation with all of us. And the 4 of us got, so Adam, my brother, and Andy, and my father, Jim, and I all went to a conference just a few weeks ago when we were down in Marco Island in Florida. And I think that will probably be the only time the 4 of us will be at a national conference together. Just because my dad's winding his career down, and maybe he'll continue to come if he wants
it's on
to.
Marco Island.
Yeah, but it was really neat that the 4 of us really got to spend some time together, and at a work function like that was pretty neat. That was the first time that all 4 of us got to do something like that together.
That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know a little bit about your guys' story, but how do you make it to 50 years? Switchboard, this upcoming summer will be 9 years, which feels, like 9 is a decent amount of time, but it's still a baby. Like 50 is like really remarkable. You have to span generations, and how do you do it? What's the key?
Well, I think we mentioned it first and foremost is enjoy what you like and do, right? And the beauty behind, I think, what we've been able to do is that when you're truly like serving your clients and providing that service, and they become like family too, it doesn't feel like work. And then the clients want to, we've had, the privilege of serving like multi-generational clients of like great grandma passes away, and she, passes money on to the kids and grandkids and great grandkids, and they start this legacy. And so we've always thought of, building our own Jacobs Financial legacy, but we're helping other families build their legacy. So it's been a really treat. And I think the vast majority of our clients have the same goals and aspirations as we do, and we want to help them achieve that. I think just naturally, like, we want our children to have a better life than we did, right? So what can we do to make sure that, in our power, that we can do to take the appropriate steps to do that? And if we can help guide them and teach, clients and give them some guidance along the way, so they're helping set up that next generation for success, is really what it's about. And we've been witness of that, where, the clients are able to pass along assets or gift assets and hopefully change the lives of that next generation coming up. And to witness that is really powerful.
That's cool.
Either on the, like if something tragic happens, which, obviously God only knows what life brings at us, but if something does tragically happen, hopefully we are able to provide enough wisdom along the way to protect those folks, or just the gifts of additional children or whatever it might be. So
I'm sure that those conversations around death, if a loved one dies, obviously those are hard, and I've had, from like a human or personal relationship, I've walked with people who have lost loved ones, but I have no kind of working or professional experience with that. I could imagine that having those conversations with people who 10 years earlier listened to some of your advice and saved money in the right kinds of ways or bought the right kinds of insurance or whatever, that those conversations, as hard as they are, they're probably kind of sweet and rewarding at the same time, because you kind of helped set them up for, this challenging thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation when hopefully you can say you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time when we're visiting with clients, if they've taken the appropriate steps, that's the conversation that we get to have is you're going to be okay. You'll have time to grieve. We don't have to make any big decisions. And then we can help walk along that path with them. Because and that part of the career is probably the most rewarding, is to be able to, I think the most rewarding is obviously when they get to retire and then you see them enjoy all the fruits of their labor and 30, 40 years of work, and now they get to go and do the things that they want to do and enjoy the money.
Go visit grandkids.
And do those things. That's really neat to see. And but of course it does happen where we have to have those other conversations of you're going to be okay, and your spouse took care of you or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So, from your career of helping people with wealth management and, you've probably seen just about everything, but what are some of the consistent things that you see? Like, let's just paint a little picture, right? Someone is 65, 66 years old. They're getting ready to be done. They sit down with you and they, you're looking at their portfolio with them, and they did it. They have enough to be able to retire in some sort of comfortable kind of way, whatever comfortable means. Consistently, if you looked across the board at all of these different couples or people that did that, what are some of the consistent things that are true inside of each of those people? Because I'm guessing it's not tons of, in central Minnesota, it's probably not tons of like giant family estates that are getting passed down.
No,
we're a pretty blue collar community.
Yeah, the husband and wife, most of them typically both work outside of the home. A lot of them do anyway. I think the number one factor is starting early. Think of just having a conversation with some clients last week about they had a referral for their son who is now working, I think at like Blattner Company, and 20 some years old, but like put money into the retirement plan at work, get the match, and you put that as part of the budget when you're early on in your career in your 20s and not waiting till your 30s or 40s. That's going to make the biggest impact for most people. And I think the number one thing that we hear from retirees or early retirees would be, I wish I would have started earlier, and I wish I would have put more away. And obviously you can't turn back time and I'm going to go back and do it over again. So trying to get that story out there to the next generation and the parents telling their kids or grandkids saying, first time you get a job, they have a retirement account option at work,
max it
start
out.
it, get it going right away, and put in what you can. but make it out of sight, out of mind, so you don't have that money coming into your checking account and then have to write a check out.
Yeah.
Because most of the time you won't. My dad told me, like when I first got into the business, he said, we're not, I mean, there's plenty of competition in your industry and my industry, right? But we're not really in competition with the other financial planners out there. We're in competition with what people would like to do with their money,
Sure.
other than save it and invest it. I would much rather go on vacation.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
It's so much fun.
So much more fun. But of course, I know if I want to have an extended vacation in retirement, I got to do that today.
Yeah.
So,
Wise words, Dad.
yeah,
Wise
absolutely.
Words. Yeah. I mean, I think it was. I mean, in the last 6 months or a year, you guys helped us at Switchboard and figuring out all the. It's not my job, but 401ks. Is that the right word?
Yep.
Getting all of that set up for our team. So super helpful, and yeah, we appreciate you guys helping us with all of that. It's a good thing to do.
It is. Yep.
It's not my inclination. I've said.
Well, nor is what you guys do. I mean, marketing and
Sure.
It's not up my cup of tea.
I just mean even like just in general, like saving, like even from a business perspective, my thought is like I want to figure out how to spend money in the right kind of way so that we can grow something.
Reinvest in the business and grow.
Which is its own kind of investment. But you gotta, trying to figure out how to
There's
do
a balance there for sure.
Yeah.
You have to be able to grow, right? The old saying, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yep.
So you have to be able to invest back in the business for growth, which we're actively doing right now by expanding and adding team members and doing the right things at the right time.
Yeah.
And some of that costs money to do it.
Yeah.
So you
And
have to have the resources.
There's a risk associated with it that, if you don't do any of that, you just whatever you're doing, you can just stay doing that.
Yep, you could, but I think there's the risk of if you don't try to actively grow, and you lose a couple accounts or something like that, then you can go
The other way real
backwards too.
fast. Yeah. I think that people, I'll hear things every once in a while about like commentary a little bit like on me about like how risky my life is, like because we've started a few businesses, some of that stuff, it looks really, really risky. I think the interesting thing, it doesn't really feel risky, which is, anybody that's walking on a tightrope, if that's what it is, maybe they don't necessarily feel that or they don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but they all feel like mitigated risks, right? Like, when you get in your car and drive every day, like you put on your seatbelt, like you're engaging in some kind of risk, but you're doing it in the right kind of way. And that's what business growth kind of feels like for me. It's like, man, if I think about that in the right kind of way, if I put a really good plan in place and I make sure that like I'm asking my team the right kinds of questions that like hopefully this thing that we're about to do, this money that we're about to spend, building to acquire, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But if we seek the right kind of wisdom, that it's kind of like putting on a seatbelt or a helmet when you're riding your bike, is like, sure, I'm engaging in some kind of risk, but it doesn't feel like a disproportionate amount of risk in light of the security and some of the things that we've put in place.
Sure. Yeah, you can dial back some of that risk if you had to. I always think like the biggest risk for us, I feel like, there's obviously like political risk and things of that nature that can change our industry.
Every 4 years, you guys probably go through.
Just things change, and that, but that also can bring opportunities too, to our career. I think it's like one of the biggest worries, like for business owners, including ourselves, like no matter what, like as big as our team gets, they're always going to get a paycheck before we do, right? No matter what happens, like the payroll is going to get paid, the bills are going to get paid. And so if businesses aren't doing successful, then if people that aren't a business owner don't realize that extra stress that could be on that individual or individuals is that, all those employees are getting paid, the bills are getting paid, but maybe they're not taking income for themselves. And we've seen businesses go through those cycles, which can be definitely challenging. And most people don't want that inherent risk What happens if the business is cycling and things don't do well? Well, you can always, I suppose, lay off employees and things of that nature. But part of being a business owner is we're helping provide for 10 different families out there too, and that's important to us.
Yeah.
So it's a measure. You can try to measure the risk as much as you can as a business owner, but you're never going to get rid of it.
No. Yeah. As often as I can, I try to encourage people to start a business. I don't go around and like asking people like, hey, have you ever thought about wanting to start a business? Sure. You should do it. Like I would never do that. But if someone even hints a little bit that like they're kind of thinking about it, I'm always like, you should do it. Yeah. Like, cause I think the biggest gap is like, do you want it or not? Yeah. And so if you're telling me that you're kind of thinking about it, then I'm like, I'm ready to push you. And like, let's think about ways to do it in a way that's, really minimizes some of your liability here. I had a conversation yesterday with someone, a friend of mine who's got a really neat job in IT. And he was like, I think it'd be fun to hang my own shingle. And I was just asking him about like, how far can you go before you lose your day job? You know, and like, is it possible to like do a little bit of that now and while you still maintain some of that security? And I don't know. I love.
I love working with entrepreneurs, business owners. I mean, the stories that we've had, like touring some of the business clients where they get to work and they have like machine shops or whatever it might be, and you get to see the different things that they're working on. I mean, from big, employers, hundreds of employees to the small, 10-person shops, or the business that I think of that started out of their garage, a couple guys doing some e-commerce stuff, sales, and now they have 25 employees and they're 20 million in sales, and you're just like, and they started out of their garage doing the part-time as they were both in two different industries, and they am quitting their jobs, taking that risk, and then to take it to the next level is pretty cool witness, stuff like that.
So when your dad started Jacobs, how did he approach it? Was he all in? Did he?
Well, he graduated college at St. Cloud State, and then so that would have been 50. So he was like 23 years old or so, and 22, I think, actually 22, 23, newly married, a kid on the way, and he was working at like Perkins as a manager. My grandfather, his father-in-law, was in the financial services business and living in Bloomington, Minnesota. And so with encouragement, Grandpa Dave, so namesake myself, so Grandpa Dave encouraged my dad to consider that, and then that's when they formed a partnership. So my dad got in business, fortunately, from his father-in-law, my grandfather, and then they formed that partnership, and then eventually they moved the offices from the Bloomington to St. Cloud, and then my grandparents moved up to the St. Cloud area to get out of the Twin Cities. So I think, fortunately, having the family in the business really drove his decision to get into it. And my dad would say, his dad told him when he told his father, I'm getting into insurance and financial services. And my grandfather, Jacob, told my father, he said, you can't sell anything. And I think my dad was like, I'm going to prove you wrong, Dad. And he did.
A little bit of an axe to grind.
It's like, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to prove you wrong.
A little bit of that is real helpful.
And I think he just wanted, there's only so much you can do and so much income you can make as a, restaurant manager. And again, he wanted to, provide for that family that was on the way. And he did it.
Also really helpful. I mean, I jumped into being, fully self-employed. Because again, I was doing some of it I was doing it on the side, trying to get it off the ground. And then we found out that we were pregnant, and it was like, okay, well,
motivation there.
The pace that I'm going right now of like working a full-time job and then trying to do this thing at nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Like that pace and holding a baby. Like I can't do it. And so it's like, well, do I go here or do I try to bet on myself and go all here? And so that motivation of having a little one is also, I think, can be really motivating.
I agree too. When I first started in the business, just to make ends meet, I bartended on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
And I made more money doing that than I did in my first year doing the financial planning. And again, I had a 1-year-old at the time, Olivia, and my wife and I, she was working, and we were thinking about fortunately, my mom was taking care of our daughter for daycare purposes. That saved us a ton of money.
For sure.
But we just kept grinding, and then I said I can't do both because I'm just giving up my weekends, and just had to keep grinding into financial planning, and here we are 20 plus years later.
That's cool.
But I think you do the kids for sure, family motivated me.
Yeah.
And providing, to just give them the better life.
Okay, so you ended up in family business, and you've got 3 kiddos. Do you kind of hope that one of your kids follows in
I think
the family biz?
it's in progress.
Okay.
My oldest, so Kristen and I have 3 kids. Olivia is the oldest, and she is 20. She just finished her second year at Arizona State. And her major is financial planning. And so she'll be doing some, we have scheduled for an internship back in Minnesota for next summer.
With you guys or with?
Our affiliate is North Star in Minneapolis, North Star Resource Group. And so they have 46 offices throughout the country. And technically we would be considered the St. Cloud branch.
Yeah.
So most of the interns would be in the Minneapolis office. So we would think maybe 3 days a week down there, 1 day in St. Cloud or something like that would work.
I think
but that was the plan.
Having all of your, having some experience not in the family business.
100%.
It has to feel super smart.
Yeah. So if she can spend some time and learn from some people down there, and then be able to be in St. Cloud just for commuting purposes, maybe once a week would be good. So that's the plan for next summer.
So that will be when she's heading into her senior year.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of it too is that she could intern in the Scottsdale office, but it's about 115 degrees right now. So
it's nice to get out in the summer to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit too hot. So I think that summer months she would come home and spend it here when it's nice, and then enjoy Minnesota summers.
In Minnesota, we use the expression snowbird, right? Like in the winter you leave. Does the South have
It does.
Do they have an equivalent? Do they have a term
I don't know.
Leaving in the summer because it's brutal?
They do. So my wife has family down there, which is was one of the reasons why we picked. Well, we didn't pick it, but Olivia picked Arizona. Was that there is my wife had a couple cousins that were close, and it's nice to have family. Just you never know. So, but they actively are looking for, much like we would be looking for the winter home when we're getting ready to retire. They do the same thing.
But just the inverse.
Her cousins are looking at spaces for the summer to come up north, whether it's in Minnesota or maybe Colorado or somewhere out west, but northern western states. Because again, it's 110 degrees for months at a time, and I'm not built for that.
No way. I mean, I think who's born and raised in Minnesota is, it's not in our blood. I sang in this Christian singing and dance group this summer thing called the Continental Singers I did it for a couple of summers. And our tours were through the summer, and we were always in the southern part of the United States. And we were in, one of the nights we were in Bullhead City, which I think is either Arizona or New Mexico.
Okay.
And we were at this host home's house. And then one evening, it was maybe around 8 o'clock, down the block was another host home that had a couple of our students. And so we were walking over to go, like, I think they had a pool or something. So we were just like walking down the neighborhood. And I just remember it like it was yesterday. Granted, it was cold. And they had the AC going in the house, but it was nighttime. Like, it was dark. There was no sun up. And I opened the front door to walk outside, and it felt like opening the oven door.
Yeah.
Like when you open the oven and you get hit in the face with the heat, and you can you feel that thing.
If you were wearing glasses, they would fog up instantly.
And I was like, oh, living in this thing would be so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so brutal.
I can handle it during the winter months for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we moved
But it's
her
also
in,
95 and not 115.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. When we moved her in a couple years ago.
End of August?
Towards, it was beginning of August. And it was like 110. And then I remember in the evenings, my wife and I thought, well, we're in a hotel right by campus. And we thought, well, let's just go walk around campus. And just, the sun had gone down and stuff. But, man, we were just walking around. It was still like 90 degrees. And like, this is not very enjoyable for me. But it's a beautiful place. And we love going down there in the winter months and seeing. And but that's her plan, is to
come back
potentially family business or part of it. The other two are going into their senior year and sophomore year, so they got some time to decide. And this next year, our daughter Callan will do some tours of different campuses. And
is she considering Arizona at all?
she's thinking about it. And in fact, she just texted and said that they do want to go. Her and one of her close friends want to go and do a tour of ASU.
Yeah.
And there's also GCU, which is close, Grand Canyon State. So you can probably tour a couple of those. And if they had both of them down there, that'd be convenient.
Sure would.
In one spot. So we'll see. But she's got a year to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And then the youngest one, Devin, who's he'll be a sophomore. He's got plenty of time ahead of him, and his aspirations are playing hockey. So if he does that, then he won't start college until he's in his 20s, based off of that.
Is that junior? Is that what that's called?
Yeah,
Juniors?
they do like junior, so you can play up until 21.
Okay.
So a lot of these college kids that play juniors don't start college until they're 21 years old.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So he's got time. He's got
Plenty of time.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. To figure that out. Yeah, we've been, it's been all the kids born and raised in the community here. We were in Sauk Rapids, and then outgrew that home, and then we ended up moving to Sartell.
Yeah.
And we love that community.
How many years now have you guys been in Sartell?
Since 2007, so 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your kids have been in the Sartell school district
The whole
for basically-
time, yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been. My wife and I bought my childhood home from my parents, and so I've been in that community in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like there were years when I was in college, and then when Cassie and I got married, we bought a house on the south side of St. Cloud, but in some capacity, Sartell has been home for me for a really long time, and it is a really wonderful place to raise a family, and
we love it, and it's changed even in the last 17 years, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, so much.
And I think for the better. I mean, just the growth of everything. But my wife and I went for a walk, and just trying to get extra exercise. Need to trim it down a little bit, but we ended up going on a 6-mile walk just this last weekend, and you just keep walking. There's paths everywhere, and we can kind of get off a main path and go into a neighborhood and walk around. And it's a really good community. We like it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. Dave, one of our favorite things on the for our podcast is this little segment, the unpaid advertisement. Can you think of somebody or something that you would give an unpaid ad to?
I'll plug the charitable organization that our golf tournament funds went to. So, if you're familiar with the Cop House, which stands for the Community Outpost, and that's run by the Greater St. Cloud Public Safety Foundation. And we
Sponsored in part by the Rotary.
Yep,
Was the Rotary heavily involved?
they were part of the first initial cop house, and raised a ton of funds to help get that going.
Yeah.
It was all community funds, so businesses, Rotary, et cetera, that helped get that project up and running. And essentially, they have St. Cloud Police stationed, and I think there's 6 officers at that outpost in the South St. Cloud neighborhood by St. Cloud State.
Yep.
But they're expanding to the east side.
Okay.
Salem Lutheran Church has some space, and they'll be actually officing a second kind of unit over there, and they'll have some healthcare professionals providing some mental illness care and things of that nature, as long as the police department over on that side of town. And so we just hosted our golf tournament, and that's the charity that we've selected, and that's been a 3rd-year recipient.
That's
and
really cool.
yeah, so they're doing really good things.
Yeah.
Born and raised in the community, you've seen the community change over the years, and some things are positive, some are negative, but we're passionate about safety, and we believe that that the first responders are essential for our community, and they need our help. They need the extra resources because they don't always have it. So whatever we can do to help them, and it just helps our community.
That's cool.
So plug to them.
Sweet. That's really, really neat. I'm excited to hear more about this next location. When do you think it will open?
I think they're trying to get it open in 2024.
Okay.
So hopefully the funds from this tournament will help out.
For sure.
And then the third location is where Talahi Elementary is over there. There's a park over there, and there's some grant money that came in. That will be a little bit different. My understanding is that because the grant money is a state federal grant, it's being awarded to the city, so it'll be like city run, but they'll still have some involvement. So, but hopefully that Salem Lutheran off of Germain there would be this calendar year.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. My unpaid ad, different and a little bit lighter, but mine is for commuting on your bike. So when my world gets like really busy, and summers are super, super busy. Just this unique thing being a photographer and videographer is that for 6 months of the year when everything's covered in snow, there's a lot less of there's a lot less shooting that happens outside. But then when it gets nice out, you just get really, really busy. Time. Yeah. And so like if I get home from work, I'm like, all right, sweetie, kids, like I'm gonna go to the gym now. It's just like a kind of it's a pretty serious imposition.
Yeah.
And so I've been commuting on my bike. I love riding my bike in general, but commuting on my bike, I get time on my bike with either just, by myself and just enjoying the outside, or I'll put on my podcasts or whatever as I'm cruising. But then I get my workout kind of built into that. And so commuting on your bike, I'd recommend it. Give it a shot.
I think it's a great idea. It's hard to squeeze it all in.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Dave, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We really, really appreciate it a lot. It's fun to hear about what you guys are doing. 50 years is hard. 1 year is hard. The statistics of like how many businesses fail in the first year is staggering.
It is.
And so 50 is just really, really special. And so congrats on that. How neat that your dad kind of laid a really neat, kind of groundwork for you guys and for you and your brothers to kind of like jump in now and to push that into what it is now. It's really, really exciting. I am hoping and praying for family lineage and, doing some of that too in business. So it's fun to talk to you and hear a little bit more about that and then just what you guys care about and how you're plugging into our community. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thanks.
Good to talk with you.